everyone, I am so excited for today's video. Today we are doing summer book recs. The type of fantasy books that I like to read in the summertime are more lighthearted, or they read like a fairy tale because I want fluffy, happy reads in the summertime because that's just kind of what I gravitate towards. I don't want like super heavy reads that will make me sad or anything like that. I also have a couple of horror books, one sci-fi book, a contemporary fiction, lit fic. So there's a little bit of everything for hopefully you'll at least get one recommendation that you might enjoy out of this video. Let me know in the comments what you guys are reading this summer, okay? Let me know. I am always down for more summer book recs. Let's go to the first book. This is probably the standard that was set for me for any type of romance leading fantasy, and that is Tress of the Emerald Sea. I read this before I read Throne of Glass. I read this before I read The Court of Thorns and Roses. For me, this is my Roman Empire fantasy romance or romantasy, and I love this book. I constantly think about it, and this will be the first fantasy romance leaning book that I will recommend to anyone. I think this can be for anyone, and I love the story of this book. Brandon Sanderson wrote this for his wife after watching The Princess Bride, and The Princess Bride is one of my most favorite movies ever. I don't so much like the book, but the movie, I just absolutely adored that movie. So Tress lives on a little island, and she's lived there her whole life. Her world is very, very small because traveling the seas in this world, the oceans are like green, and it's made of spores that when a drop of water touches the ocean spores, it blooms out into like these crazy vines that destroy and can very much unalive you if you're not careful. You could sneeze or breathe in the spores, and obviously like there's a lot of water in your body, so you'll just explode into a massive vines. So it's a very treacherous journey if you leave the island. Tress is so interested in the outside world because her friend Charlie feeds her stories because he often is able to leave the island, and he always brings back a teacup for her and an interesting story about the outside world. So one day, Charlie and his father set on a voyage to find Charlie a bride, and Tress isn't too happy about this, but she just kind of accepts it. But when news comes back that a sorceress has kidnapped Charlie, Tress takes it upon herself to travel out to save him because she's just super concerned. And that's kind of the part where the romantic subplot comes in. Tress goes on an amazing character journey. She really comes into her own. For me, I'm a very visual person, so I don't know if this could convince you to read the book, but the art in the special edition tends to convince me to read a book. Here is an example of the magic system. If water touches the spores on the ocean, they explode into like these violent vines, and obviously like they're overtaking a ship. So, and you can see Tress down here walking on it. So guys, read this. You have to. If you've been thinking about getting into Brandon Sanderson but you're a little bit intimidated by his backlog of books, go with this first. Try some of his secret projects to see if you want to continue on with the Cosmere, but I think this is an excellent place to start. This next one is definitely, I think, more of a romantasy than the other ones. It's called Upon a Starlit Tide, and this is basically a love child of Cinderella and the Little Mermaid. This is a story that takes place in 1700s France, and the main character's name is Luce. Luce knows from the beginning that she was adopted. She was found on the beach by her father as a child. Unfortunately, Luce has crippled feet. She can't walk on them for very long. They hurt her a lot. She goes to a ball and like her feet hurt really bad from the shoes and stuff like that, and it's not just because the shoes are uncomfortable, it's because like she has this condition with her feet. Because of that, her father is very, very overprotective of her, and thus while she does live a charmed life, she is very sheltered, while her sisters, they are seeking advantageous marriages, and Luce wants more. She wants to leave this coddled existence and go out into the world and have adventure. So since Luce has this dream of wanting to go out to explore the world, she meets with her friend in a cove in secret to learn how to basically sail on a ship. One day, Luce is out in the cove by herself, which she probably shouldn't be, but she is. She finds a man and rescues him, and he turns out to be the son of the most powerful ship owner in the city. She goes to a ball, and she changes her hopes and dreams a little bit, and kind of is like, I want to get married now. Like her plans change. So this sets up a love triangle with Luce, Samuel, and the rescued ship owner's son, Morgan. Then there's a ball, there's Faye, and there's twists and turns. It's not too complex with the magic system. system or world building or anything like that. If anything, I would say it has not really magic at all. Even though magic is a quintessential part of the plot, it is not super complex. I mean, mermaids, ship smugglers, fae, but not the fae that you might be thinking of. It's such a solid read for summer, and I 100% recommend it. The next book I have is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I love this book. Every single one of my favorite romance, fantasy tropes are in this book, and I ate it up 100%. In this story, we follow how do I say her name? Agnieszka. I can say that. Okay. Anyway, in the story, we follow Agnieszka, and she lives in a village that is surrounded by a malevolent wood. The woods are evil. There's monsters and dark forces in the wood that threaten the village that she lives in. So to keep the woods at bay and all the creatures that live in it, there is a dragon that lives in a tower. He's a cold, distant wizard that lives there, and he pretty much protects the village from the evil forces of the wood. But unfortunately, for this protection, it comes at a price. So every 10 years, the village has to produce a woman that will be sent to live with the wizard in his tower. And usually the predicted person that will go to live with the wizard is the most talented, beautiful woman that the village has produced. The person that is forecasted to be sent to with the wizard this time is a girl named Kaisa. And Agnieszka is like, no, this ain't happening. Unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not sure which one, but instead of choosing Kaisa, he chooses Agnieszka. And then we follow her journey of her being in the tower, them dealing with the wood and all of that. This is just very much a fairy tale. The romance was very slow burn. I would be reading through this just wanting her and the dragon to interact. That was like my main force to keep going with the book, and that's when you know that you're invested in the romance and you're invested in the characters. And especially with Romantasy these days, that is very rare for me. The next book we have is just humorous fantasy. There's no romance in it. This is dreadful. Basically, we have this quote-unquote dark lord that he's a guy. He wakes up in a tower with no eyebrows. The tower, I guess it's more of a castle, is full of goblins and creatures, and they all call him the Dark Lord. And he's just waking up there randomly with no idea what's going on and why he's here. And basically the book is like following him, like recovering his memories. This is funny. It's weird in the best way. It's a lighthearted, fluffy read. This is one of those books that Barnes & Noble was pushing, and I decided I don't normally pick up the books that they push because I don't typically enjoy them, but this was one that the back part of the book was interesting enough where I was like, I'll give that a try. I've never read something like that before, and I'm so glad I did. I love this book so much. I was trying to pick out books that I just don't hear people talk about, and this is one of those books. This next book, this is a queer low historical fantasy between a merman and a blacksmith named Benny. Benny is recruited to build a iron tank for a merman that was stolen from the East River. This book takes place on Coney Island in like 1910, I think. So I think back then there was this horrible trend of people zoos, and I think it's kind of playing off of that. And then something that really caught me off guard with this book is Benny, the main character. He is Puerto Rican. I really connected with him because I've never read a book with a Puerto Rican main character, and I'm Puerto Rican. This book actually made me look into the history of Puerto Ricans when they were starting to come to America and come into society and stuff like that, and how they were not treated the best. This definitely got me to look more into that, especially when they were coming to New York and stuff like that. New York was a place where so many different types of people were coming, especially in the early 1900s. Puerto Ricans are just one of the many types of people that were coming to America during that time, and America promised opportunity and freedom and hope and gave them things that they probably wouldn't have had, but unfortunately they were met with the horrible consequences of brainwashed generations of people that didn't look upon them favorably, which unfortunately that still persists in our culture today. And then we have the merman, and he's just, the poor thing is suffering in this tank. He gets injured and they fall in love. This was just such a thought-provoking story. Also, the author is so talented. They wrote the book. Not only did they write the book, they also drew, there's art in here, and they drew the art like this. They drew this, there's the Statue of of Liberty and Benny. Oh yeah, here is the merman and Benny. He's like, why you got me in here? Get me out. What are you doing? I think out of all these fantasy books, this one is the heaviest, but I still think it's a really good summer read. Okay, those were all the fantasy books. So now I have a couple of horror books, some other ones that I want to talk to you guys about. The first one I have is actually Japanese fiction that was translated. This one is Convenience Store Woman. This is about a woman who works in a convenience store named Smile Mart. Her name is Keiko. She's kind of strange. She feels like she doesn't belong, and she really tries to accommodate her behavior to other people so that way she doesn't displease them, because she feels like she's unusual. She's basically, I guess, masking, but unfortunately she is facing the pressures of pursuing a career outside of the convenience store, like a office job and getting married and having kids and stuff like that. She doesn't want that. She finds her purpose in working at Smile Mart. I just really connected to this book. It was so interesting to get into the mind of Keiko and see why she acted the way she did. It's not really long at all. I actually checked it out from the library because I just wanted something to listen to that wasn't super long, and I liked it so much that I got a copy for my personal library. The next one I have is a science fiction book, and this one is Day of the Triffids. This is I guess like the apocalypse book. It was one of the first of its kind. You know that movie 28 Days Later? This was the inspiration for that. I think there's like a sequel or something that came out to 28 Days Later recently. The story follows Bill, and he wakes up one day to basically the end of the world. He had eye surgery, and so he's waking up and he has bandages on his head. He's like, what's going on? Where's my nurse? I want these bandages off. It was his day to get the bandages off, and the nurses never came. He notices it's quiet outside, so he has to take upon himself to take off the bandages. And then when he goes outside, he realizes that there are these really deadly plants that can walk and move around, and they're really tall and they unalive people. Basically, he's just navigating a post-apocalyptic world with these deadly aliens that have come to Earth. If you like The Stand and you want something that's significantly shorter, read this. With the amount of space that the author gave themselves, they did a lot of character development. This is very much a book of its time. The language in it is dated. The writing is kind of dated. It's not what you would be used to reading now when you pick up a modern novel. It's kind of a slog to get through if you read it physically. For some reason, the audiobook just worked out so well for this, but just keep that in mind when you go to pick this up, that it's not like the easiest thing to read in your brain. It's not bad. It's just it doesn't read as smoothly as a modern contemporary novel would. This one is a more recent release. It is tagged as science fiction, so that's why I'm talking about it right after Day of the Triffids. The Bones Beneath My Skin. It's like a sci-fi thriller subplot of queer romance. We follow Nate, and Nate has lost everything. His parents are dead. His brother doesn't want anything to do with him. He lost his job, so he turns to wanting to move to his family's summer cabin. But unfortunately, when he gets there, there's a guy and this girl that have taken refuge there because they're basically hiding. And Nate's like, what the heck? Why are you here? Who are you? Obviously, they've broken into a place that does not belong to them. One thing leads to another, and they decide on staying. And the little girl, she's a strange little girl. She's got something more to her than meets the eye. I'm not gonna say what it is because that'll basically ruin the book. She calls herself Artemis Darth Vader, and this little girl, she's so charming. I think TJ Klune writes the dynamics of children and explores themes with them very well. Just make sure you check content warnings and stuff like that to make sure you don't go into this expecting the unexpected. I just think this would be a fun read if you're driving in the car and you don't want to fall asleep. The last two books I have are horror books. I think these are perfect summertime reads because one has to do with plants and the other one has to do with one of my favorite horror tropes, and that's a haunted motel. So if you're going on vacation and you're going to a hotel and you want something spooky to maybe make you afraid of the hotel, try the Sundown Motel. This is not too heavy of a read. It's pretty short, and I love the cover of this book. This story follows two characters. One of the characters we follow that kind of starts the story, her name is Viv, and she wants to move to New York City. So she takes a job at the Sundown Motel to help pay for this move to New York City. And not everything is as it seems at this hotel. It kind of seems a little haunted. Unfortunately, Viv disappears. And then you fast forward to 2017, and we have her niece who cannot shake the thought of her aunt's disappearance. So she goes to work at this hotel to investigate why her aunt disappears, because she just can't shake it. She's like, what? Why? What's going on here? If you don't want something too heavy, but you want something spooky, I think this would be the book for you. The last book is by a newly favorited author of mine, T. Kingfisher. I got approved for a T. Kingfisher art here recently and read through it like in one day. It was so good. It was a Snow White retelling called Hemlock and Silver. It comes out in August. So if you want another fairy tale retelling, check it out. This is a horror book by T. Kingfisher called A House with Good Bones. It's kind of a haunted house story with a twist. In this book, we have our main character, Sam, and she goes with her brother to North Carolina to basically just take a break from their busy lives. And something to note about Sam is that she works and studies insects, which comes into play later in the book. Just keep that in mind when you're reading it. If you don't like bugs, maybe this might not be the read for you. Sam and her brother go to have just basically a nostalgic break from life with their mother at the house that they grew up in. And when they come to the house, they start to notice that their mom is acting strange. The house went from a cluttered, nostalgic, childhood-filled dream to sterile and white and plain, and their mother is acting like their grandmother did when she was alive. She jumps at things, she gets really nervous and antsy and paranoid. They kind of play with the idea that their mother might be suffering from dementia. They're trying to figure out why their mother is acting this way. There's a very nice rose garden bush thing and vultures and insect infestations that start happening in the house. It just gets stranger and stranger. The middle is like, it's like a slow burn horror. Things get creepier and creepier as the book goes on, and then when you get to the last, like, I want to say like 20%, everything starts coming together and you're like, what? It's very strange in the best way. Good book, 100% recommend if you want haunted house horror with a twist. But yeah, those are all of the books that I recommend you give a try for this rest of the summer and leading into fall. But yeah, let me know if you guys decide to pick up any of these books and what you think of them. Whenever you get done reading them, come back to this video and tell me what you guys think of them. I really want to know. If you want to follow my reading journey, follow me on Goodreads. If you like gaming content, follow my VTuber channel. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a happy summer. These are all books that I loved and that I thought you guys might like. So I hope I did a good job. I'm gonna be making more of these in the future. Subscribe if you want. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.